It's almost Father's Day.
Not that we care.
Well, as a father, do you have anything to say for yourself?
No.
Okay. Box art.
Box art I can talk about.
Okay. So I'll just give a brief
Please.
history. We had a comment field when you checked out on the whatsite.
This was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And typically people would say things like, leave it on my front porch. But for whatever reason, one guy, and I'll never know who this is, asked for us to draw a flying dolphin on his box, which I did. I was the person packing up all the USPS orders back then. So I drew the flying dolphin, shipped it off. I think I took a picture of it, put it on somewhere, and then in the next month, someone else had a request of something they wanted me to draw. And so this kind of just took off. And we never kind of publicly advertised that we did this.
So people kept, I didn't realize, I thought that we announced at some point.
No, we never said anything. And then people just kept asking us to draw things. And it started as something that was just fun for me to do. Mm-hmm. But then eventually I stopped packing everything up. And now we have a shipping department full of many people. And they're still doing the box art requests. And the box art requests are coming in hot and heavy. And it made me think about, like so much of my time is on thinking about cost and efficiency, right? Because in business, you're like constantly focused on how can I hone this to get better with those
cut costs, increase revenue.
Cut costs, increase revenue. But there's lots of things that we don't do that too, right? And box art is one of those things.
Right.
It really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Which is why we do it.
From that standpoint, to spend have an employee spend 20 to 30 minutes hand painting a box.
Right.
But yet there is something about that I think is valuable enough to continue to do it. Anyway, that's kind of the conversation I wanted to have. Mm-hmm. Because there's all sorts of things like that, like customers, Sam or Les, or any customers we've become friendly with over the years. Like sometimes we'll sit there and talk to them for an hour,
right?
Catch up, and again, not efficient, right? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, but critical in business is forming relationships, not just any kind of relationship, but relationships of trust.
Yeah,
and that is invaluable.
Right.
And so, it is not with that mercantile intent that we do it, but just being in the world and wanting to foster trusting relationships with people happens to be a good business strategy.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, I've never sat down and tried to measure it.
Yeah, I don't know we can.
I don't know you can either. And it almost kind of ruins it to try to do that in a way.
Yeah.
Because I read this somewhere where inefficiency is synonymous with enjoyment and friendship. Mm-hmm. Right? Like all of the things that we love are inefficient.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like if you go have lunch with your friend, right? You're not trying to have the most efficient lunch that you possibly can. That would actually make it worse. And like any of the things that you can think of that are like the most meaningful things in your life, that in almost everyone's lives, it's like what we enjoy about them is the lack of efficiency.
Yeah.
And yet, being in the world of business, you are faced with this interesting conflict, which is like we spend our lives here.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
But just another counter argument to that. Here's somebody in a shipping department, and they're 6 hours a day or whatever they're packing boxes, and then all of a sudden they get a break, and they go in and they have a chance to do a little artwork, and that's at a minimum therapeutic, and it might actually be a lot of fun. And I can't count the number of times that one of the artists said, "Hey, look at this," and they go around and show everybody, and everyone takes pictures and say, "Hey, that's cool." And
yes.
so that's just good for employee morale.
Right, but that's like a sneaky way around saying that it's good. It's good for business, but like I feel like that's not exact. Like for instance, so we had a customer who he's got married.
Oh right.
And we made a 3-tiered box art cake, and put a present inside and sent it to him.
That's my wife.
She's
banging on something.
Okay. And then we just received like a really wonderful thank you card, and there's a picture of him and his wife, and like that was like all very nice. And I don't know exactly the point that I'm trying to make, but it's just it's an interesting to me to think about, like, because we spend most of our life, like, we're not a business where the owners show up once a week, make sure the thing is running, and then fly off to Belize or something like that. Like, we are here every single day.
Right.
Like we pretty much spend our lives here.
Yeah, well, we do. As did my dad, my brother, my grandfather.
Right. And so I feel like there's like, we try to make, if you're going to spend your life somewhere, you want to have it be
meaningful.
Right. And part of that I feel like is tied up with inefficiency. But then there's always the pull of looking at your bank account and understanding that you are in competition with all these other forces.
Yeah.
And having to rectify that.
Yeah, it has not. I don't think it has anything to do with the bank account. But what's been astonishing to me is how many times we've gotten box art requests from someone that said, "My dog just died. It was a collie. Draw a picture of them running through a field at sunset."
Right.
And we get a lot of that.
Yeah.
And even we've had people with the lost children.
Yeah.
That wanted some kind of consolation from art.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, so I went to the Art Institute here in Kansas City, and it was always astounding to me the lack of connection that the art world has with everyday people in the real world.
Like politicians.
Right. And there is this disconnection. Like people often, I feel like, go to a gallery and are suspicious of an artist's intent.
Right.
There is like a wariness about how people approach art.
Right.
In a lot of ways, which I think is probably deserved. Like right now, how we deal as a culture, how we deal with art is there's this thing in museums or in galleries that you have a monetary relationship with. Like, you either buy it and you put it on your wall.
And the authorities say, "This is art."
Or in the museum context, right? And there's like a lot of it. Yeah. But that's just one way that it could operate. And taking something like a box that is being shipped, it usually gets kind of roughed up. And then also asking people to make requests.
Yeah.
Right. So that it's not just we're going to paint whatever we want, but it's you put in your request, and then
often they're requests.
Yeah, and then the person gets to put their own spin on that.
And all the time you get requests from people say, "My son loves the Ninja Turtles," or he loves turtles, or
right.
elephants or whatever. So please put that on the box. We get that a lot.
Right.
And
And people tell us they hang it up in their shop.
most of them, I think, get hung up.
Yeah.
I have to just interject.
Yes.
Years ago, we got an order from NASA. So Josh, who was the box artist at the time, he did a picture from a scene from Close Encounters.
Oh, that's right.
And he even had the music for that interesting musical piece they had on there, and he had that on there, and he had something in code. So that was good.
Yeah. Josh, that was our old shipping person.
Yeah.
He was the one that took over from me.
Until he went to Africa.
And then he became an EMT,
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
He did one, it was a triptych.
Oh yeah.
He put 3 boxes together
From three separate customers.
for 3 separate customers, and each one he painted one of the Golden Girls. No, I don't think they ever knew that if they put the 3 boxes together, it made a painting.
Yeah.
But those 3 boxes are out there. All right. What are you going to do this weekend?
Plant sweet potatoes. We bought 1,000 sweet potato sleds to get in this weekend. That's it.
All right.
Yeah. And it's going to be in the 90s.
Well, happy sweet potato planting.
Well, it'll be a joy.
Okay, good.